number 3, game number 5 of the 2025 World Baseball Classic Qualifier in Taiwan, and the dream is still alive for all 4 teams hoping to advance to the 2026 WBC. Today, in the opener of our last doubleheader from here at the Taipei Dome, upstart South Africa has an eye on an upset and staying alive for a chance at 2026 as they take on 1-1 Spain. Hi everybody, alongside former Major Leaguer and 2-time Team Australia WBC pitcher Ryan Rowland-Smith. My name is Tyler Mon. Ryan, South Africa needs a win today to stay alive. For Spain, a little bit simpler equation, 1-1 coming into this one. Tough loss yesterday to Nicaragua, but Spain doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, they really are. Now, first of all, South Africa, they are still alive, but they have to win convincingly. But they're up against Spain, who the story was on the first night was that outburst of offense. So it was multiple times where Nicaragua could have broken out, runners all over the place, but some of this plus defense, when it counted with runners on, was what kept them getting to that 10th inning. Unfortunately, falling to Nicaragua, who is 2-0 right now. And again, look at these standings, Tyler. Would you think Nicaragua would be 2-0? Chinese Taipei sitting 1-1, and they're in a tough situation, but everyone's still alive.
Nicaragua 2-0, scoring a grand total of 4 runs in almost 20 complete innings at the plate so far. Spain 1-1. They scored 12 in that opener against Chinese Taipei. Today they need the win, but if South Africa can spring this upset, then things start to get really interesting with tiebreakers, who's going to move on to the second place game on Tuesday, and all the rest. A big one from here in Taipei. Lineups and first pitch coming up next under the dome. It is a Sunday afternoon in Taipei, Taiwan, and we are ready to go for a matchup between South Africa and Spain. Everything riding on this game for South Africa, Ryan, an offense that has started to come alive a little bit. They're going to need to do some big work today against Spain. Yeah, and the manager, Neil Adonis, is trying to bunch together some of these bats, and also the brothers, too. Look at this, Tyler and Brandon Smith, both brothers, Jonathan and Anthony Phillips, hitting together, and then you see Brandon Bouillon beyond that. Tyrone Milne back behind the dish. Wetzel and Carlils down the bottom. And it will be Victor Ngupe who is the first one to get a look at the right-handed starter, Pablo Guillen, for Spain. This is a 26-year-old righty who's pitched all over the place in his baseball life. He's pitched in the Cuban National Series, pitched in the Venezuelan Winter League. He pitched as kind of a short-lived independent baseball outfit in the Can-Am Association. There was a Cuban-specific team in the Can-Am Association back in 2019. He pitched in that squad. Most recently, though, in a summer league, he was pitching in the Italian Baseball League, which we have seen a handful of guys across all of these teams who've gotten some experience in Italy, and good command, a strikeout type of arm. And today, you just got to be able to get your team off to the right foot, because tomorrow is a group-wide off day, so you have a little bit more flexibility with the bullpen if you're Nelson Prada. Yeah, and I think too, again, first of all, you mentioned all these journeymen who make up some of these teams, especially on the pitching side. Pitching is always way more scarce this time of year, putting together your team because of so many different restrictions and spring training and whatnot.
But you're right, you've got the off day tomorrow. Chances are you are going to play on Tuesday. I think you get your head around that. Keep that bullpen fresh and get them ready to roll so you can just completely match up on Tuesday when it really counts.
Victor Ngupe steps into the batter's box. We are underway at 12:06 in the afternoon here in Taipei, as the first offering is there for a strike to him. Victor, the former Pittsburgh Pirates prospect, has been pretty good out of the top spot in the lineup for the South Africa team. Had a hit in the 8th inning yesterday. He drove in the lone run of the game for his team back on Friday in that narrow 2-1 loss to Nicaragua.
Yeah, one thing with Victor as well, and I like his approach. Typical, leadoff hitter. He stays up the middle really well. Good with 2 strikes. But Charlie, we talked about this coming into this and talking to Neil Adonis day 1 during the workouts, and then again their first game. They get to this point in this preliminary play in these kind of events. Do they start getting up to speed with some of the velo? There he is up the middle.
I mean, that is exactly what we talk about with these South Africa teams. And to be fair, I mean, this South Africa team has put together a pretty good offensive resume so far through the first 2 days.
Yeah, and look, it is tough to pitch when you're facing speed and guys who stay up the middle. If you're going to be just a natural pull hitter, okay, all right, I can eliminate half the plate. If you're a guy who can hit the ball to right field with 2 strikes, all right, I know your approach. But when you're constantly staying up the middle, it is tough to pitch and tough to really sequence against guys like Victor.
I mean, that's the 13th hit in 2 games plus 1 hitter for South Africa, as Tyler Smith steps in, the left-handed hitting shortstop. So it's not as though this team has faced just a complete power outage. The problem has been they just haven't been able to come through with base traffic a lot, as Smith on a 1-0 waves and can't get a piece. Count levels on him. Tyler Smith, a couple of days ago for South Africa, walked twice in that 2-1 loss to Nicaragua. And then last night, outstanding in the field and a really good day at the plate as well. 2 for 3. He was hit by a pitch, singled twice, scored his team's lone run.
Yeah, we talked about switching up the lineup. Tyler Smith has been steady in that 2-hole. And Jonathan Phillips usually hitting 3rd, but he's pushed down a little bit. Brandon Smith right behind his brother Tyler, trying to bunch together some of this, more of this contact at the top of the lineup.
Short lead away over at first for Ngupe in a long set. And we have a pitch timer violation.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these in a matter of 3 days, right? Or 2.5 days. I get not even covered 4 games and all kinds of clock violations.
That was kind of an interesting one too, because Guillen was ready to go in more than enough time, and then just that really long set. Kicks and deals here with 10 still on the pitch timer. Puts it down low, so the count now 3-2 instead of 2-2 on Tyler Smith.
Yeah, and paying a little bit more attention to Victor Ngupe at first base. I mean, look, South Africa, it's a situation where if offense is not going to be stringing hits together, you start to think, all right, at what point do we start pushing a little bit on the bases? At what point do we start sending a Victor Ngupe, if he's on early, none outs, time it up, swipe that bag.
Victor 1 foot off of the cutout, and a walk follows him, and South Africa with something brewing in the first and second, first 2 men aboard.
There you see the defense playing behind Pablo. Pretty much similar to what we've seen. You see Astaris slide over to first base. Lino back behind the dish. Big home run a couple days ago against Chinese Taipei.
Man, I've been really impressed by the left side of the infield, too, for this Spain team. We've talked a lot about Wander Encarnacion, the 3rd baseman who has played primarily in his career in the Spain First Division and got some time in the Italian league. I said after his first game, there's that South African cheering section over on the 3rd base side. They were lined up behind the dugout. They were doing chants pregame today. It's pretty cool to see that. I mean, that is support from a long ways away for this South Africa squad. Pretty great to see on the last day of round robin play, as Brandon Smith going to work. Smith 1 for 8 so far in this World Baseball Classic Qualifier with an RBI. But we talked Wander Encarnacion. I mean, I got messages from a scout in the KBO after that first game with Wander Encarnacion saying, how is there not more information out there about this guy? He's really good.
Yeah.
And it hasn't just been offensively. He's looked really good in the field as well. A swing and a miss, and a big first out of the first inning for Pablo Guillen.
Yeah, you get a chance to watch these games. We talked about some of the journeymen, and that goes for not just the pitching stuff, but everyone all over the place. We see plus changeup. Man, 0-2, that's a tough pitch. Brandon Smith, but yeah, that happens sometimes. I mean, look, there's so many good players. There's so much talent. Yeah, I've dealt with that where you get done and.
This ball crushed out to center. Back on it goes Beltre, backpedaling in front of the warning track. He pulls it in. And Gupe will tag and advance, but man, oh man, Jonathan Phillips gave it a ride to dead center field for the second out.
Yeah, there's that exit velo that South Africa were hoping to get from Jonathan Phillips. Haven't seen it yet. Put a good swing on that. But just back to your point, you know, watching Encarnacion, I'm with you. It's like, how do these guys end up where they end up? And sometimes you just slip through the cracks. It could be, you know, that one season, that injury, you know, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden their phone just stops ringing every offseason. And you find yourself playing in some obscure league. Then you pop up in a tournament like this, and who knows? Someone's scouting you. Someone likes what they see. Next thing you know, you're back on the map.
Loud out to center field from Jonathan Phillips. And that'll bring up his brother Anthony with a chance to get this squad on the board. Phillips brothers from Cape Town. The Belleville Tigers, the home club for the Phillips brothers.
Yeah, we've talked about some of the backstories from these South African players. They're not full-time baseball players. They all have day jobs, but what about Anthony Phillips? By the way, had a really successful minor league career. Didn't get to the big leagues, but now he owns a badminton facility in Arizona. And I asked him, I said, hey, man, what's with the badminton? He goes, yeah, I was really good when I was a kid. Apparently.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I went on Google Maps, too, just to see how many facilities, like to try and pick out which one was his. There's a lot, actually, in Arizona.
Interesting.
There's like 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that.
How about that? You a big badminton player, Tom, growing up?
Badminton's like one of those things that I know we had like a badminton set when I was a kid.
Right,
you know
every
what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I don't know why. We had a badminton and a croquet set.
Right, yeah. It's like every backyard had, at some point, the set where you put the net up. And
yeah. You hit the shuttlecock around.
Correct.
I never know any of the rules to that sport. I know that I'm not very good at it, unsurprisingly. 2-2, lifted to left. Some good contact in the first inning, but Frank Hernandez will put that one away, and 2 fly balls wrap things up in the first. Leadoff base runners go nowhere for South Africa. We're going to the bottom of 1. South Africa scoreless. Spain coming up. It's been a tale of two games for this Spanish national team. 12 runs on Friday night and a big win over Chinese Taipei. They were held to 1 run yesterday against that outstanding Nicaragua pitching staff, and they will send this starting 9 to the batter's box today as the first guys to get a look at Vince Michael Dazel for South Africa.
Yeah, you see the middle of that lineup, Encarnacion, the starter is Estrada, doing some serious damage night 1, but they just didn't have that energy going into that noon game after playing Chinese Taipei in front of 40,000. And here against Vince Dazel, who former Pirates farmhand. Like a lot of these guys, a lot of these South Africans, they have had 7 players who have played professionally. Majority of them half or a full decade ago.
Shot back up the middle, past the dive of Nguyen into center. Andres Angulo gets things started, and Spain with the leadoff knock, just like South Africa in the top half of this.
Yeah, and the feeling in that dugout, if you're Spain, is let's get something going early. Let's not sit around 3rd, 4th, 5th inning. This is a guy we can handle on the mound. Especially that noon game, they experienced that yesterday. With no one here, no one in the seats, trying to manufacture some energy.
So it brings up Angel Beltre, the former major leaguer. For Beltre to this point, batting out of the 2 spot in the order, and one of the veteran guys, Ryan, we saw him a couple years ago on the Spain team in the World Baseball Classic Qualifier in Regensburg. Bouncing ball out too short. 6, 4, 3, 2 gone. Beltre had been hot to start it, but he is 3 for 10 now after grounding into the double play, and the leadoff single erased.
Yeah, we talk about on paper the different levels of talent or depth or whatever, however you want to construct. Look at these lineups that are these teams that are constructed, but I sound super cliche saying this, Tyler, but you pitch, fill up the strike zone, play good defense. It could be 6th, 7th inning in a close game here for you, South Africa.
That's one thing that's really impressed me about this South Africa team. They've played really, really clean defensive baseball to this point. Yesterday they hurt themselves with some walks, but 2 days ago did not issue a single walk until the one that they were kind of forced to issue to try to set up a forced play in extra innings against Nicaragua. They've only committed 1 error so far here in the qualifier. And for Vince Michael Dazel, if you can get through this inning, erasing that leadoff single, I mean, he's at 7 pitches coming up here on his next one. But working against a dangerous bat, won't have to work against him as he puts Encarnacion on with a hit by pitch.
Yeah, and the other element too, and we've covered plenty of pitch restriction strategies, limitations, whatever you want to call them. Keep that pitch count healthy. If you're South Africa, situation you just don't have the depth to get a day off tomorrow. You get Dylan Unsworth back if you were to make it to Tuesday.
First offering down and away to Jesus Ustaris. Ustaris has been terrific for this South Africa, or for the Spain team. 3 for his first 8 with a couple of doubles. Had a really good night against Chinese Taipei on Friday. Fastball up and in on him there. And, you know, you see Vince Michael Dazel, better velocity, some better stuff than a bit of what we saw last night against Chinese Taipei. And, you know, South Africa's in a tough spot against Chinese Taipei. You know that team was going to be lit up offensively, trying to rebound from the struggles they had against Spain on Friday. So, to a certain extent, you trail that game, you utilize some arms, maybe with an eye on, okay, well, if we get to Sunday and we can spring an upset on Spain, then it's all hands on deck on Tuesday. As the 4-pitch walk will put Ustaris on, and it's 1st and 2nd now with 2 gone for Spain in the bottom of the 1st.
Yeah, you take a look at the defense for South Africa, very similar to what we saw the last couple games. Milne behind the dish. Again, Wenzel Carlos and Bouillon in the outfield. Victor Ngope and Tyler Smith up the middle. But you're right, Tyler. You know, situation, you go into this, and it's not saying that, and this is nothing against, you know, Damon King last night, but we're watching a guy, and we'll get messages on social media, hey, how come these South African guys can't throw 80 miles an hour? Well, it's a depth issue, right? You got a guy who hasn't played at a high level. He's not throwing every single day. He hasn't got that velocity, but I'm not saying you wave the white flag to Chinese Taipei, but you try and get to you look on paper and say, okay, what team can we handle? Obviously, right. Dylan Unsworth, day one against Nicaragua, a team you feel like you can handle. Throw your ace out there. And then you look at Spain and say, all right, I got a Dazel in the shoot as well. And so you stack it up. We did that at the Olympics. We had those mid-range teams that we put our best pitchers towards, and it worked. Teams that we knew, like we had Cuba, there was, I believe, Chinese Taipei. I mean, the teams we had leading into into the semi-final, we structured it where we had, our aces pitching against and our best bullpen arms pitching against those mid-range teams.
You know what's interesting too is the 0-2 pitch is bent into the dirt. Both runners are going to move up on that. Is on Friday night after taking the loss to this Spain team, Hao Ju-sung, the manager of Chinese Taipei, made a comment. You know, we sort of knew that Spain was going to use its best arms today and tomorrow against us, in his case being Chinese Taipei, and against Nicaragua. And that, speaks to your point that you do kind of strategize it around what team can we get away with potentially using some of our back end arms against. But South Africa has started to find itself offensively, and you made the comment before we got started today, Ryan, if they can get into the 4th, 5th inning and this is a game, I think you tense up a little bit if you're Spain. And if you're South Africa, you feel really, really confident. An outstanding catch, by the way, by that guy up on the first base side, who almost fell over about 4 rows of seats and still made the grab.
Yeah, when you say picking up on offense, and we've both talked about this a ton off air, just getting up to speed. It's not like they're, it's a big strikeout right there, but it's not like they're belting the ball all over the ballpark, but starting to get better contact, better at bats.
Stranding 2 in scoring position. Good work by Vince Michael Dazel. We'll go to the 2nd in a scoreless game.
The right fielder, number 21, Brendan Williams.
6, 7, and 8 for South Africa as we go to the top half of the 2nd inning back at the beautiful Taipei Dome, a Saturday afternoon in rainy Taiwan today. Tyler Mon, Ryan Smith, Brandon Bouillon leads things off for South Africa. Man, Ryan, we've done a handful of these international events together. This is our 2nd one in Taiwan, and thank goodness for this dome.
I was just about to say, I woke up this morning.
This is a rainy place. I mean, especially certain times of the year. This time of the year, they get a decent amount of rain.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? It's interesting because, we did the last qualifiers we did was Regensburg, Germany. We had that cold wind coming into the booth.
Yeah. It was rainy there too. We had a rain out one day there.
That rain. Yeah, that's right. We lost our off day.
Lost our off day.
But no, this place.
All set to head to Oktoberfest in Munich, and we had the off day robbed from us. So
You were going to Oktoberfest. I was studying.
That's
for
true.
The final game.
That is true. You were. It's like a beautiful mind here. You were locked in a room, writing equations and the tiebreaker formulas on Windows.
Traditional German cuisine and prepping for the final day while you were off.
We did eat quite a bit of traditional German cuisine. By the end of that week, you and I were 90% schnitzel.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've eaten a schnitzel since.
This is this incredible ballpark, the Taipei Dome, which opened in December of last year. It hosted the Asian Professional Baseball Championships. It is incredible, and it is not just a baseball facility. They host a lot of different events here, different sports, a lot of concerts, and you see the reference to the district around here. It's built on a historic site of an old tobacco factory here in Taiwan, which was named the Songshan Tobacco Factory. And some of the old buildings are still here, and we have our tradition on these international trips is you and I find the coolest coffee shops that we can. And we found a coffee shop in the old, I figured out what that building was. As a bouncing ball out to short, Tyrone Milne is retired, Chukon. It was the old boiler room, apparently, for the tobacco factory. The coffee shop is awesome. We've hung out there between games the last couple of days. But yeah, the Dome is a game changer for Taiwanese baseball, for being able to host events like this, hosting Premier 12 in November, because this is a place. I did the U23 Baseball World Cup here a few years ago. We had 3 straight days of rainouts because there was a typhoon parked off the coast of Taiwan that just dumped rain on the island. We had, by the 3rd day, we had to take high-speed rail to a city about 2 hours away where they had better weather just to get a couple of games in. And so the Dome, this really is a game changer for baseball in this country. And on top of that, it's just awesome, man. I said this in November. I get distracted at times just looking around at the Dome because it's so cool. The lattice work roof is so cool. The way the video board is positioned. It is just a fantastic facility. As a called strike 3, retires Joshua Wenzel. South Africa put the first 2 on in the first inning. They go 3 up, 3 down here in the second. And we will go to the bottom of the second inning, all scoreless through 1.5. A South African baseball legend and one of the friendliest gentlemen that you will ever meet in your entire sporting life. Neil Adonis, the manager of this South African national team, a guy who has been coaching for his country for nearly 2 decades and played for his country as a high-level Olympic baseballer. In fact, played in the Olympic Games, the Summer Olympiad, before Ryan Wallen-Smith won a silver medal with Australia.
He was in Sydney?
He was in Sydney.
Home
so, yeah,
bush.
you could have seen him, fan, and then played in the Olympics.
Listen, my mum, who, by the way, she's listening right now. Shout out to my mum.
Bouncing the ball back up the middle, a leadoff single.
But I went to those Olympic Games. She took me to the USA versus Korea. We sat upper decks. I was watching the Bat Boys, jealous that they were on the field.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then it's crazy how quickly, then 4 years later, I had a chance to play in the Athens Olympics. But here comes Spain trying to get something cooking offensively.
Bring up Carlos Colmenares out of the Tampa Bay Rays organization. I will say that I believe it was the first event that we did together in Regensburg, Germany. We were talking about international baseball, talking about the Olympics, and it's like, man, you want a silver medal? That's incredible. Do you just have that medal around?
Stop it.
You just got that
Stop
medal
it.
hanging around. You're like, I don't even know where it
Stop
is.
it. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to set me up right now. Not happening.
Carlos Colmenares, who has been a spark plug out of the lower spots in this lineup for Spain. 3 for 7 with a home run. He has walked. He has stolen 2 bases. He has played some really, really good defense as well. He's in the 7th spot and playing at second base today. Runner off from first, and the 1-0 away. And the throw too high from Milne, so a stolen base for Edison Valerio, and a man in scoring position to get things started for Spain in the second.
Damn, Milne, made that way closer than what it should have been. Tough ball to throw on. Get another look at it right here, but tough ball to throw on. And able to get it down, just a bad throw offline. Tell you what, that Colmenares is hitting in the 9-hole. For most of this tournament, he's moved up a little bit in the lineup, but he kind of lost that prospect status with Tampa Bay. But again, these games count. Do some good things here. Everyone's paying attention with your professional team back in the United States.
Colmenares, as he takes that for a strike, did not have an easy start to his career as a Rays prospect. He signed during the COVID season. There was no minor league baseball season in 2020. Then he broke his hamate bone before he could make his professional debut. And hamate bone injuries are really, really tricky to come back from. It's a bone in the wrist. And he is certainly showing the right type of form now. Left the yard yesterday.
Yeah, this ball was crushed. Got a sinking fastball down the middle. Jumped all over it. Yeah, the one thing watching him, he's been impressive. And again, defensive side of it as well. He made that nice play on that first night. The one thing I was paying attention, I went back, did some digging. They matched up against him with some lefties. And that was the one thing, watching that swing and that approach against lefties. And you can look at, if you look at his career log, that's one thing he's really struggled left on left. And again, if you want to play every day in the big leagues, playing that middle infield spot, you got to be able to hit righties and lefties.
That home run hat, by the way, that was a purchase by a Spanish baseball reporter, influencer, a journalist who has actually traveled here to Taiwan, has followed this team. Sandra Samaniego, who bought that hat during the Caribbean Series in Mexicali just a couple of weeks ago, where the manager of this Spain team, Nelson Prada, was working in the Caribbean Series for the Venezuela squad. And that has made the trip here to Taiwan. It is the celebratory lid. Everybody, one of my favorite things about the World Baseball Classic is everybody has their own unique celebrations. You know, a couple years ago, we saw Great Britain with the T, the salute for Chinese Taipei. USA Baseball has done the eagle wings. There's, everybody's got something cool. Did you guys have anything? You have to like hop like a kangaroo.
This is pre having your signature celebration.
That's true. There's a line down the left field line. This is trouble if it's fair. That is a fair ball, and it's into the corner. Gabriel Lino delivers in the second. Spain's onto the board. Around third base, here comes Colmenares. Throw is in time to get him. It'll be an RBI double for Lino as Valerio scores, but South Africa limits it to just one. It's a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, Lino with some big swings already in this tournament. Again, this is that pitch. This is a changeup, middle in. It's the ball he can handle. We saw that first night. That big home run against Chinese Taipei. But again, nice play here from South Africa. Well executed. Good transfer throw. And then the pick from Milne. Keep that ball in front of him.
So with one gone now, here's Frank Hernandez. Hernandez, limited action so far here in the qualifier. Came on as a pinch hitter yesterday, delivered a hit. He's got a hit here today. Lino rounding third base, gets the wave to the plate and scores. And it is a 2-0 lead for Spain in the bottom of the second. Solid shot the other way for Frank Hernandez.
Tyler, one thing about these tournaments, it's so hard to essentially game prep to scout, but when you get a chance to get a couple innings, you start seeing some tendencies. You start having those conversations when you walk back to the dugout. Hey, look, he's going to throw this changeup. That breaking ball's kind of hanging. It could be that one little phrase that, hey, look, breaking ball is just spinning out of the middle of the plate. And so if you're down the bottom of this lineup, you kind of have that feel where you kind of know what you're going to get, even though it's the first time you're facing someone or even seeing someone. There's really no video to watch or anything like that. And you can see that from Spain, starting to get in that rhythm.
And now a miscue defensively as Spain is going to get at least one extra bag around second. Headed for third. Frank Hernandez will take that one as well. He came off the bag, and Anthony Phillips is adamant that he had the glove on as Hernandez's hand came off. And South Africa wants to look at this. The way Anthony Phillips reacted makes you think that he is absolutely certain that that should be an out. That's a difficult call to make. That's Ty Krause, the third base umpire, who was shielded by Phillips's body. And this is sort of, the reason why replay exists now.
Yeah, good job from, first of all, Anthony Phillips staying with that play. Ooh, I don't know. That may have just been instinctual from Anthony Phillips, the way he reacted. The hard thing is, too, in this tournament, in the big leagues, you have a designated person with a complete video room underneath, right behind the dugout, who basically can just watch like a hawk. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah, got him. There we go.
Man, that is
good job from Anthony Phillips.
Heads up.
But just to my point, you have to be convincing in that sense, because we all watch the big leagues, and they can kind of put the hand up to say, give me a second. You've got someone literally within seconds, because they've watched that play. They've probably watched 3 versions by then. You don't have that here, especially South Africa. They're going to overturn this.
He is out at third. So Spain running into 2 outs on the bases, 1 at the plate and 1 at third here in the second inning. And that is right now standing up pretty large. Just a 2-run frame. Spain has wasted 2 on the base paths.
Yeah, they've run themselves out twice in this second inning.
There is an error charged on that play on the pick attempt that allowed Hernandez to go to second, but then Hernandez retired on the backside of it. So now 2 gone. The complexion of this at-bat changes for Andres Angulo. Is going to try to bunt his way on if Phillips will let it go foul.
You see that pitch count up to 32 from Dezal. We talked about that being a factor. I think they're going to let it ride with him, throwing enough strikes. And get another look at this.
That's a real awkward slide, too. Yeah. Frank Hernandez trying to stay to the outfield side of the bag.
And you know what, too? Right before this slide, his attention was on the third. He kind of put his hands up to say, am I supposed to keep rounding second right now? He was in time. He was there plenty of time, but ran off the bag.
So a no-ball 2-strike count here on Andres Angulo. Angulo can play the outfield, can catch as well. He is from Cali in Colombia. He actually plays in the Colombian League for the Vaqueros of Monteria, one of the host cities for the U23 Baseball World Cup back in 2018. That was a weird side-spinning cue shot back to the mound, and a nice job by Dazel to hang with it, and he gets the out. Terrific job to limit the damage as South Africa gets 2 outs on the base paths, and we go to the third in a 2-0 game. Spain is the world's number 24 ranked national baseball program and one of the most beautiful places on the planet. The most blue flag beaches of anywhere in the country. There is me, and that's Ryan in the dress. The weird thing in that photo. The nation of Spain. We talked about this the other day, but I can't remember. Have you been to Spain?
No, I have not.
I spent one day in San Sebastian once, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. San Sebastian, the hometown of Jorge Balboa, who's one of the relievers on this Spain roster. I would love to spend more time in Spain. 0-2 pitch. Jason Collis is retired on 3 pitches.
I love that strike 3 call, too.
It is beautiful. That is the home plate umpire, Yoshiharu Yamaguchi. Yeah, he gets his money's worth on the punch-outs. That is 3 strikeouts in the last 4 batters in to see Pablo Guillen.
Yeah, Guillen starting to get in that nice rhythm, shutting down the South African offense. Now, we talked about this. Yeah, trying to get some rhythm, trying to get their timing, all that, but still no extra base hits for South Africa, just a whole bunch of singles. And that's not today. We're talking the entire tournament, last couple of days.
Victor Ngupe back at the top of the order. Ngupe led this game off with a single in the first. And the 1-2 pitch is high to him. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Spain team got together and had its camp in Barcelona beginning on February 4th before they traveled here to Taiwan. A swing and a miss. Now 4 strikeouts the last 5 men into face Guillen.
And this time the slider down below the strike zone.
And after about a week over in Barcelona, they made the trip to Taiwan. They settled in Taichung for a few days, about an hour and a half away from here. Played some exhibition games against corporate league team here, kind of the industrial league / independent league equivalent, as well as against the National Taiwan University of Sport. Played an intra-squad game. They played a game against the TSG Hawks, one of the CPBL teams, the big league teams here in Taiwan. And got acclimated pretty quickly to the time difference, the climate, all that other stuff that comes along with traveling a dozen or so time zones away from home. A lot of these guys playing winter ball in Latin America as well, so they sort of all had to converge in Barcelona before coming over here as a team. Count 3 balls and a strike on Tyler Smith. And of course, our guy Adam Jones, the hitting coach for this Spain team during the camp week in Barcelona, his new hometown. 3-1, club to center field. Beltre in pursuit, in front of the track, is there to haul it in. Tyler Smith gives it a ride, but gone in order. That is 9 up and 9 down since the first 2 men reached in the first for South Africa. 2-0 lead for Spain. One of the most indelible moments in World Baseball Classic history. Adam Jones in his spectacular catch, banging off the center field wall at Petco Park in San Diego to rob his Baltimore Orioles teammate at the time, Manny Machado. Late in that game, the second matchup between the U.S. and the Dominican Republic in that 2017 Classic, the U.S. clinging to a 2-run lead at that point. Adam Jones made the catch. U.S. able to hang on. They advanced to the semifinals. They knocked out Japan in the rain at Dodger Stadium and then dominated Puerto Rico on the way to the United States' first World Baseball Classic title. And that highlight, I mean, for as long as the World Baseball Classic is played, Jim Leland told me this, who was the manager of that USA baseball team in 2017. As long as the World Baseball Classic is played, that highlight will be played with it.
And for good reason, too. I mean, 2023 was so successful with so many good players, especially on the United States. Tyler, we've talked about this a ton. We talked about it during the last qualifiers in the World Baseball Classic. You know, you look around the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, majority of their superstars are going to put their hand up without hesitation. But in order for the World Baseball Classic to get to the level, we're talking from 2017 and 2023, on the global stage, especially within the United States, those U.S. superstars have to put their hand up and come on, and they have the last couple. And a big reason is because moments like that.
Ball left side knocked down over there on a nice lunging play by Tyler Smith, but he's not going to have a play on Angel Beltre. And, you know, guys who are the reason why so many superstars are putting their hands up now are guys like Adam Jones, because they go back to camp after playing in the WBC and they tell everybody else, hey, this was an incredible experience. If you have the opportunity, you should do it. Adam Jones, 14-year big league career, champion in the WBC in 2017, and new gig this year. He'll be an advisor in the Baltimore Orioles organization. He is the international man of, not really mystery because he's so visible these days, but he's living in Barcelona, then he's seen in Baltimore, then he's back home in San Diego, and he's playing golf on, you know, some tropical island. He is the coolest dude on earth. We got a chance to hang out with Adam Jones for the world's longest inning in Regensburg back in 2022.
With this team, the Team Spain.
Adam came up at the booth and there was 2 very quick outs. No, he came up in the top half of an inning, I think, and it was 3 super quick outs. And we thought, wow, do you want to hang around? Well,
yes.
Absolutely. And then the bottom of that inning took us like 48 minutes. And finally, at one point, after I think the 3rd pitching change, we said, Adam, if you want to go, it's fine. You can go.
I mean,
you gotta hang around.
The amount of we were doing a podcast up there with Adam. I mean, the amount of questioning. He got to a point. He said, "Man, can I get this last out?" Or I was like, "Oh my goodness, that was wild."
There's a hot shot out toward right field. Bouillon will move back and reaching out the adjustment, able to make the catch. But Ryan, I think your point is so well made that for the WBC to reach the top tier of an international sporting competition, you know, this is taking nothing away from the early USA baseball teams. It's a great adjustment by Bouillon looking up into this kind of challenging roof here, especially if you've never played in a dome before. This is just the 3rd time in a dome for a lot of these guys. The U.S.'s rosters in 2006 and 2009, another fly ball that direction. Bouillon giving this a look, but it'll drop foul. They were not exactly what we've seen in 2017 and 2023.
Right.
But it was because of, as we noted, all of those players who had those experiences in 2006, 2009, 2013, going back to their clubhouses in the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League and on to the big league season and saying, hey, you got to be part of this. This is one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. If you can play in the WBC, you got to do it. And now you look up and down the roster at the superstars who have jumped into the fray for the United States, and it's like every year somebody else, you know, Aaron Judge 2 days ago said, yeah, I might be interested in doing it next year.
And I think too, look, and I get it. At the time of year, players are skeptical. They're going to want to get ready for their major league season, but for them to buy in, and I think they've got to that point. That's why I am beyond excited for 2026, man. I mean, from the Dominican Republic, United States, Japan, some of these rosters you will see. And again, we saw it in 2023, but even on the pitching side as well. That's the other part. I remember talking to Adam.
Pitch inside, throw to second is not going to be in time to get Beltre. New arm into the game, by the way, is Justin Erasmus on for his 1st inning of relief.
I remember talking to Adam Jones about this, and he said, hey, well, one thing, because he became a recruiter, and it was about, get the pitching. The pitchers involved. And we're talking, some of the superstar names, and he started to see that in 2023. So really excited for 2026. Being the event it's going to live up to be.
The thing that I think stands out the most about where we sit with the WBC now, coming through this qualifier into Tucson next week and on into 2026, is the fact that Major League Baseball has been patient with it, because it would have been easy after 2006 or 2009 or 2013 without massive superstar buy-in from the Americans. As a pop to shallow center, and Gupe is there for the out. It would have been easy to say, this isn't working. I think we're going to kill this thing off. As you take a look at that 2026 format, the 4 pools: San Juan, Puerto Rico, Houston, Texas, Tokyo, and Miami. 4 teams already announced into each of those pools. 1 team from this qualifier will head to one of those pools. The other will head to another, and then the 2 teams from the Tucson qualifier will also join as a team in each of those pools. We'll whittle it down to the quarters and then the semis in Miami. But for MLB to have stuck with this thing, it takes a long time. The World Cup was not the World Cup after its 2nd edition. You have to build this up over, a generation. And now you have guys, young stars in baseball, who are saying, oh, I grew up watching the World Baseball Classic. That's what makes this thing so special now, is that MLB stuck with it for this span of time to build it.
One of the things, too.
Ball crushed out to left. Wenzel to the track, looks up, and it's gone. And Rusber Estrada gets one out of here, and Spain has doubled its lead now, 4-0 in the 3rd.
And you mentioned Justin Erasmus coming on the pitch for South Africa. He's not as crisp as he was
just 2 days ago, and a big reason for that is you threw 48 pitches, and you're starting to see 3-ball counts and hanging breaking balls where you can do this type of damage to for Ruben Estrada. That ball was crushed.
2-out homer. That one almost 110 miles an hour off the bat, 109.6. And sails out of here to left and turns a 2-0 game into a 4-0 game to bring up Edison Valerio.
Now, just to wrap up the World Baseball Classic, look, you're talking about the buy-in from the players. I was a pitcher, and one of the biggest question marks was, or one of the biggest skeptical parts is you get to spring training and your coaches, front office, they bring you in the office. This happened to me. Had a brand new coaching staff in 2009. Here's that breaking ball we're talking about, just kind of sailing over the plate. And again, this Spanish team, they watched Justin Erasmus just a couple days ago, but fatigue has got to be set in for Justin Erasmus. But just back to my point, I sat in, went into a meeting. They said, listen, we know you want to go play for Team Australia. We get it. And look, the player has the option. It's the player's call, right? That's kind of the way they made it. But there's that collective feel of this is where your future is. This is what we care about, is the regular season. And now you're starting to see a little bit more of a leash from this front office and these coaches to say, look, go play, go enjoy it. We trust you're going to be healthy.
And again, that stuff has taken time to build that trust, and it's a credit to MLB and the clubs and the Players Association, and especially all of the guys who have given us these indelible moments over the last 20 years. 3-2 pitch on the way. Valerio tags one to center, racing in. Carelsa's going to have to play it on a hop. And another knock for Spain, as this team getting on track. 7th hit of the day comes here in the bottom of the 3rd.
And Tyler, we watched, just going back to Justin Erasmus, who's pitching right now. We watched him that first day. He said, okay, keep him sub 50. You can use him again later on in the week. As you see that home run by Estrada. But again, you got to remember, these guys are not equipped to some of the workload we used to seeing your favorite pitchers in the big leagues.
Out to left, Joshua Wenzel will snare that one and retire the side. But Spain adds 2 more on the big homer by Estrada, and it's a 4-0 lead for today's home team as we go to the 4th. Here's the landscape as we head into the middle stages of game number 1 on this Sunday afternoon. The World Baseball Classic Qualifier here in Taipei. We only have one unbeaten team that will take the field tonight against the host squad. Nicaragua at 2-0, Chinese Taipei at 1-1, Spain 1-1, and South Africa 0-2. South Africa's got to get its offense going if it wants to stay alive to play in that second and third place game on Tuesday. Spain with a win today, in theory, could go through maybe as a qualifier, the top team coming out of the group. We have the 4 potential scenarios in our hands. They brought it up in a briefcase that was handcuffed to a mercenary's wrist. It was like the Oscars voting here. We have a slip of paper that has all of the scenarios. Swing and a miss there by Brandon Smith, leadoff out. This is very important and highly sensitive information. No, we don't
mess it up.
Essentially,
do not mess it up.
What would happen based on each scenario? But the most important thing for these teams is you have to win still. I mean, you can't go into tomorrow, the off day, backing your way in, whether it's, you know, into that second place game, or if you're in a circumstance where you somehow slip out of playing for a berth in the World Baseball Classic. You're going to look back at this 3-day sprint and be baffled as to how it happened for your team. For South Africa, I mean, obviously, if you're going to come here, you got to be able to grab at least one victory. They still got all kinds of time here in this one to try to rally from this deficit, but winless coming into the day today, they were the ones very much behind the 8 ball. The other 3 teams alive at least for a chance to play in the second versus third place game on Tuesday, or to qualify as the overall pool winner. And it all comes down to these tiebreakers. If we have a 2-way or 3-way tie, 2-way tie is pretty easy with a head-to-head matchup. Beyond that, runs allowed are the biggest factor. Fewest runs allowed divided by number of defensive outs recorded. If that does not break the tie, fewest earned runs allowed divided by the number of defensive outs recorded. There are all of these scenarios at play, and Ryan, we are so well versed with them because 2 years ago, in our pool in Taichung, we had 5 teams that split their games down the middle. Everybody went 2-2. It went to the tiebreaker formula. Chinese Taipei ended up as the last place team due to the amount of runs that they had allowed. But that's what makes tournament baseball so unique and the WBC so unique, is that it comes down to these other factors. Foul pop that Gabrielino will chase down in front of the first base dugout. We'll continue that conversation as the afternoon rolls along. South Africa has found tough sledding since those first inning base runners. 12 straight retired by Pablo Guillen. Bottom of the 4th inning, Gabriel Lino will lead things off. He got this offense started today for Spain with an RBI double rather, in the bottom of the 2nd inning. And as Spain leads South Africa 4-0, we cruise into the bottom of the 4th. And the first pitch from the former Boston Red Sox prospect Justin Erasmus. Bends in there for strike 1. 4 runs on 7 hits through the first 3 innings at the plate for Spain, knowing that with a win today, they would be into at least the 2nd place game, as Gabriel Lino, who has provided a lot of punch out of the lower spots in this lineup. That was 2 nights ago. Big 2-run homer in that 12-5 win over Chinese Taipei. He kind of got Spain to the borderline of a potential mercy rule win. Well, South Africa, it has been tough sledding since the first 2 World Baseball Classics when they were invited as participants. They have won 3 games combined in qualifiers since then, but they have not returned to the main dance. They're trying to avoid going winless this time out. Ryan, it is an uphill climb, obviously, for South Africa with the funding and support issues sometimes coming into tournaments like this, and they've played really well in stretches, but trailing 4-0 and already 0-2.
Yeah, and you mentioned something, during the break, which surprisingly you tend to forget, especially coming from myself because I've been there before. But you got to look around this team and say, look, this is probably the last 9 innings of baseball at this level. And pretty much half this team is going to play.
Oh man, a great effort in diving. Tyler Smith can't haul in that blooper. It'll go as a base hit for Frank Hernandez. Yeah, there was just something about the look on the face of Anthony Phillips.
Man, look at this. This would have been such a good play, something to take home with you. Nice little souvenir of a highlight reel for Tyler Smith. If this is essentially his last time putting on a South Africa uniform at this level. And let's not forget too, not because of half these guys, not because of age, is because it's tough to get an invite. We know that. It's been cut down a little bit in regards to how many teams get a chance to qualify for the World Baseball Classic. South Africa were winless in 2022 at the qualifiers. They're looking at another straight winless tournament. Might be tough to get that invite again.
Tyler Smith, by the way, he covers a lot of ground at short. We have seen him make some ridiculous range plays in the hole between 3rd and short, going up the middle. He plays a really nice shortstop position, as with 1 off and 1 on, Andres Angulo at the plate. But yeah, Ryan, I mean, the fly out from Anthony Phillips that ended last inning, you just see the look on these guys' faces and realize, oh yeah, you're at a stage in your career where potentially you're counting down the last 6 innings that you're going to play, especially on a stage like this. You can play for a long time back home and still have fun and still love the game and be part of it. And I think the biggest piece, and you're very adept at speaking to this, the biggest piece is being part of clearing the pathways for the generations behind you and being able to try to lift them up and give them that next step up the ladder. But it is tough sometimes when you see these guys who might be in those last stages and realize, like, oh yeah, this game, this could be it.
And some guys know it's their last game, some guys don't. For me, I knew. I was playing against Team Japan, and I warmed up, came out to pitch, and I just knew, I had that feeling, like this is it. Unless we somehow miraculously come back and win a game. But I tried to slow down. I was always in a rush to get it done and get off the field. But I remember, and the only person who knew that, I didn't make a big deal. I didn't want to be like telling teammates, hey, this is it for me. Make this huge. Didn't want it to be about me at all. But I just knew, and so.
Swing and a miss, and the throw down is late, so another stolen base.
But I just kind of paused, stopped, and said, that's it. My wife was the only person who really knew that at that point. But it's emotional, it really is,
Strikeout of Andres Angulo for the 2nd out of the inning. That's the 3rd stolen base of the day for Spain. Last year when we were in Tokyo, you said your daughter Kennedy mentioned that she really wanted to go to Tokyo, and you said you've been to Tokyo before.
Well,
but she didn't know that.
Well, yeah, she was 2 years old. They made the trip out to Tokyo because, again, it was going to be my last time. I'd already sort of moved on and transitioned into starting to get into this industry and what we're doing now. But
you know, I remember saying to my mum, I was like, oh, you know, Kenny, I want her to be here for the last time because I didn't see her dad pitch. And my mum's like, she's not going to remember this. She's 2. And then sure enough, I said to her, I said, hey, you know, I said, I'd love to take you to. She goes, I'd love to go there. I was like, you've been there, you watched Dad pitch. She goes, I don't remember that. Oh, thanks.
Left a deep impression.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
2 balls and no strikes on Angel Beltre. With another man in scoring position and a 4-0 lead for Spain. Good pitch there by Erasmus, who buries that one in. You can see Beltre nodding like, all right, fooled me on that.
Yeah, Erasmus has always had that good, when he was in his prime, you know, decent velocity with that cut fastball. A nice little breaking ball to go with it.
2-1, Beltre out to second, and Victor Ngupe right there waiting for it, and the inning comes to a close. And now Beltre is retired, and Spain kept off the board for the first time since the first inning. We move into the top of the 5th in a 4-0 game. Spain out in front. Moving to the top half of the 5th inning. Back at the Taipei Dome, Tyler Mon, Ryan Rowland-Smith. There is an interesting energy in this building as the leadoff man, Brandon Bouillon, lifts one in the air to very shallow right. Carlos Colmenares will pull it in. That is 13 straight retired since that leadoff single by Victor Ngupe and the walk that followed it by Tyler Smith to get this game started in the 1st inning. Pablo Guillen has been outstanding. Brian, you can kind of tell there is some tension. We've got, I mean, already probably, I would say, 8,000 to 10,000 people in here getting ready for tonight's game, where there will be upwards of 40,000 in this building. But they know that the home team here in Taiwan has to get this win. Chinese Taipei tonight has to get this win to at least even just move into the 2nd place game tomorrow with any momentum. As another fly out here, this one off the bat of Tyrone Milne.
But you got to think to yourself, as you take a look at the standings and what's going down, you look at Nicaragua 2-0, but you got to think to yourself too, the fans may be like, yeah, a chance to watch their team one more time in a must win. But no, you're right. I mean, a lot of tension, a lot of nerves around everyone we talk to around this team. Praying South Africa could somehow win today, but yeah, that would 4-0 and going quietly here in the 5th.
That would help Chinese Taipei. Chinese Taipei will go against unbeaten Nicaragua tonight. I mean, selfishly for us, I think we kind of thought, you know, Tuesday, if Chinese Taipei is playing in that game and we get another game in that atmosphere in front of 40,000 people, would not hate that. There is hardly anything as cool as being able to be part of these games as the 0-2 bends into the dirt to Joshua Wenzel. But all of that remains to be seen as we will keep you updated on the scenarios as things play out today. First place team after today is on to the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Second and third place teams will hook up for a play-in game coming up on Tuesday.
And Tyler, and back to the South African team. Look, you get to a place, it's the 5th inning, a lot of nerves coming into this week, a lot of prep, a lot of build-up. You got nothing to lose. Go out, swing, enjoy these last at-bats. Third time through the lineup right now.
Wenzel unable to get a piece of that one. That is 7 strikeouts and 15 straight retired by Pablo Guillen. We're going to the bottom of the 5th. Bottom of the 5th inning, Wander Encarnacion leading off for Spain. One of the real bright and somewhat unknown talents coming into this World Baseball Classic Qualifier here in 2025. Hit by a pitch in the 1st inning, flew out to right field in the 3rd. He is now 4 for 9, and every ball that comes off of Wander Encarnacion's bat feels like it screams off of it at about 115 miles an hour. He does not get cheated on contact. A guy who has played in the Spanish First Division, the División de Honor.
I like it.
Division. I've tried to avoid saying it and therefore butchering it, but it's just such a the Division of Honor. That's such a cool name for a league.
Yeah.
He played in the Italian Baseball League in Serie A last year for Parma Clima. Helped that team win a league championship in Italy.
That was one thing, Tyler. Yeah, as my career was starting to wind down and try and enjoy it as long as I possibly could. But yeah, these guys who go play in Italy, in Spain, yeah, some guys are like, oh, I had so much fun. It was a blast. In Germany, the Bundesliga, we had a chance being in Regensburg, learn all about it.
The Czech Extraliga, of course, the Czech national team, kind of the darlings, the WBC, certainly the qualifiers in 22 and then the main tournament in 23.
And if you don't know too, like I'll give you a little rundown. Like Italy, for example, they'll give you a car, they'll give you a place to stay, maybe a side gig, like work throughout the week, and then you play the games. And they pay you some money, so it's a nice little setup, especially if you're a career minor leaguer and you can go over there, make some money, enjoy the travel.
Ooh, great pitch there from Justin Erasmus, who freezes Wander Encarnacion.
Yeah, I'm going to say, look, he came in, we talked about the 48 pitches and having to back it up with a day's rest, but that's nice, little cut fastball in on the hands. Yamaguchi putting an exclamation point with that strikeout call. But again, talk about a guy who I guarantee you, he's had a groin issue earlier this week. Justin Erasmus talked to him about that coming into the first game. Out there. Every time walks in the dugout, I guarantee you, Neil Adonis, hey, you good? Yep, I'm good. This might be it. I'm going back out there.
As Ustaris takes strike one. You know, we're in this era right now where European baseball is really taking some giant strides forward. And yeah, you hear about all these different leagues, whether it's in Italy, the Netherlands with an incredible league, the Honkbal Hoofdklasse, I believe is how you pronounce it. The Bundesliga, like you said, in Germany, the Extraliga in the Czech Republic. There are so many different places where you can continue your baseball career. Ustari's rockets one out to left and toward the corner. It sneaks out of here. It's gone. Jesus Ustari's on a rope adds to the Spanish lead, 5-0 in the 5th.
That pitch was pretty much identical to the strikeout right before Ustari's, but just able to keep his hands inside. Look, he's looked good too. We talked about that first night, that offensive explosion from the middle of the order. He was a big part of it. Again, the Spanish team starting to get that momentum offensively. And there's a very good chance you'll see them playing on Tuesday. Maybe a rematch with Chinese Taipei. Get that offense going to the off day, feeling good about what you're doing.
So one gone now for Rusber Estrada, who homered in his last trip to the plate, and another loud shot as he dunks it down in center. A single to follow the homer. Spain adding on now, 5 runs on 10 hits. With just one gone in the bottom of the 5th. But just talking about the way that this Spain team has put so many of these guys on the international baseball landscape. You know, I think the coolest story is Encarnacion, who's played almost his entire baseball career in Spain with some time in Italy. But it just does go to show you, you know, if Wander Encarnacion comes out of this, and let's say he signs a deal with a CPBL team or a KBO team, or, you know, gets a minor league contract, the amount of roads that are out there for you to find as a baseball player. And you're adept to speaking about this as somebody who came from a non-traditional baseball country. Grounder over to short, could be 2. 6-4, 3-0 in time to get Edison Valerio, but Estrada is retired. If you want to play and you can find your way in front of the right eyeballs, there are a lot of places this game can take you.
Right. That's for sure.
So 2 gone now for Carlos Colmenares. And he goes hunting the first pitch and skies it out of play to the third base side. There's actually, and you can see him in that shot at the top of your screen just under the scorebook, there's a fairly decent contingent of South African fans who are in the ballpark this afternoon. And it's been kind of fun to see in the afternoon games here, to see the teams that are not playing against Chinese Taipei trying to sort of recruit the fans to get to their side. We saw Nicaragua doing that a couple of days ago as they were looking to walk off in their game against South Africa. And as they would get runners on, guys would stand on the dugout benches and start urging the fans on behind them.
I handed out Nicaraguan flags. It was working.
Doing some campaigning. 2 balls and a strike on Colmenares. Justin Erasmus giving his team some length out of that bullpen as he has crested over 50 pitches. Runner off from first. The throw down to second on a good pitch to throw on is in time. And Milne able to finally nab somebody trying to take that extra bag. We move into the top half of the 6th inning. Spain adds another and is in control of this one with a 5-0 lead over South Africa. It's the top of the 6th inning at the Taipei Dome. Jason Carlso will lead things off for South Africa. He and his squad running short on outs to try to get their offense going. Man, this afternoon started like South Africa was going to be on the button. They got a leadoff single from Victor Ngupe. They got a walk behind it from Tyler Smith. They had first and second, nobody out. Since then, 15 up, 15 down against Pablo Guillen, as he has really locked in.
Yeah, we're going to give a little bit of credit to Pablo Guillen. We haven't really talked too much about it. He's been sharp, really sharp. Multiple pitches in and out of the strike zone.
He's got another strikeout here. That is his 8th of the day as Carlso is gone, and we'll go back to the top of the order. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of World Baseball Classic Incorporated and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. So Ngupe, the owner of the only hit of the day for South Africa, tries to snap this string of 16 straight retired by the 26-year-old right-hander Pablo Guillen. And Ryan, one of the other big things about this South African national team program, they get so many opportunities to play at the youth levels, at U15s, U18s, U23s, U12s even. And as the representatives from Africa, they hold a really high mantle to try to further the aims of the sport, not just in South Africa, but on the continent. But the other thing that's so important is the visibility of guys like Taylor Scott, for example, who is the current South African major leaguer. And Gift Ngupe, of course, the older brother of Victor, is at the plate right now, who was the first major leaguer born on the continent of Africa a few years ago with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's now a manager in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. We talked about this the other day with Neil Adonis, the manager of this South Africa team, as Victor flies out, about just how important that visibility is. And these games are on TV, being carried live in South Africa. That, I mean, you're somebody who, as a young athlete growing up, if you saw someone and realized, oh wait, that guy is from Australia, I can play in the big leagues as an Australian guy, that visibility is so huge. And events like this are big because of it. But the representation of somebody like Taylor Scott, who's got the South African flag on his glove, you know, Gift Ngupe, and the incredible story of his major league debut, that stuff is big in continuing to lay that foundation for the next generations as well.
Yeah, definitely inside the baseball community in a non-baseball country, that's for sure. But if you want to try and spread that net to young athletes, man, you have to have a situation where you've got an everyday player, who is just basically repping South Africa, or for me, Australia, on a daily basis. That kind of happened in basketball back in Australia. With the NBA, you had so many more Australians playing, and they're basically on the starting five as opposed to being a bench guy, where you didn't quite know if he was going to get in the game. So they started really paying attention to these Australian players, and kids were looking up going, man, if they can do it, man, I can do it too.
One of the guys who comes to mind in that regard in Major League Baseball these days and what he's done for baseball in his country is Max Kepler.
Yes. I was just about to use that example.
Being an everyday guy, being a guy who has put together a really good career, and being a German-born and raised player, somebody who the logo for Legionnaire Regensburg, the team that calls the ballpark home where we did the qualifier in 2022, that logo is based on Max Kepler's swing. And he's such an icon now. I remember the German Baseball Federation posted a video on social media a couple years ago of a group of young players who had gone over to watch Max Kepler play in a game at Wrigley Field, and they walked up to each kid and asked, who's your favorite Major League Baseball player? And every single kid said Max Kepler.
You know what's interesting about that, and speaking from a place coming from Australia, right? So we've had way more success having Australian pitchers than we have than we have position players. And I'm talking, Graham Lloyd won 2 World Series rings with the Yankees. Grant Balfour, 10-year MLB All-Star. Liam Hendricks, another All-Star. And I remember talking to Liam about this just a couple years ago. He goes, yeah, but the difference is having an everyday player.
Right. So
just to give you some perspective, and this is how hard it is, obviously, to get to the major leagues, Australia has not had an offensive player
Brandon Smith, ground ball right side. That's kicked over there by Colmenares. Cutting the bag at second. Tyler Smith will dig for third. And South Africa finally putting something together. First and third in the top of the sixth with 2 away.
And just to finish this thought, for example, Australia, non-baseball country, hasn't had an everyday player since Dave Nilsson in the late 90s. We're talking the last person to have 400 career at-bats, Tyler, not just in the season, was Dave Nilsson. And so that's how tough it's been, because you need to have that every single day exposure. You see Colmenares just kind of losing that ball, left side of his glove. So I think that's the biggest difference. Max Kepler's a classic example of that. Pitches compared to everyday position players.
Well, and certainly the next guy who can be at the forefront of that conversation is a guy who you know extremely well, the first overall pick in the 2024 MLB first-year player draft, Travis Bazzana. I mean, that is a game-changing type of athlete. If he becomes a big league star in the way that so many people project and expect him to be, there are going to be a lot of Australian kids who realize, oh, this is a sport that I can really get into.
Yeah, and Travis, I've told you this many times, Tyler. You know, I've known Travis since he was 12. I brought him over on that showcase with Oregon State. Pitching coach and I are good friends. There was a connection there, but you know, with Travis, he's always had that mindset. I'm going to be a first overall pick. It's hard to have that kind of mindset when you're from a place like South Africa or Australia.
Tough play, third base side. That is a great pickup, but an unable to dig throw at first. Jesus Ustaris tried to backhand it, and South Africa onto the board as Pablo Guillen just unable to finish that play.
Wow, and look, we talked about it in the open. Squeaky clean defense, which kept him in that game against Nicaragua. The offense the first night, defense yesterday. We've seen just a string of mistakes. You can see him just not setting his feet. You see that left foot. You have to plant those feet and get your weight going towards the bag. You had plenty of time too. And man, that hurts, especially too when you're at the end of your rope in regards to pitch count. And you can see the frustration that leaks in to that next at bat because you're anchoring on what you just did.
Almost looked a little bit like that spike got caught as Guillen finished off the pickup of that ball, but man, really frustrated that he didn't get the throw there accurately. And Ustaris had trouble on the dig. So South Africa, I mean, right now, don't look now, but the tying runs in the on-deck circle for South Africa here in the sixth.
And again, every pitch he throws is not present. What I mean by that is he's still thinking about, I should be back in the dugout, 6 innings of shutout baseball and give my team a chance to rest up their bullpen and whatever else. Right now, swimming in between those ears is that missed opportunity to be back in the dugout right now.
Phillips, ground ball over to third, where Encarnacion makes a strong throw to close the inning. That will more than likely close the book on Pablo Guillen. 6 fantastic innings, but South Africa's onto the board, and it's a 5-1 score in the middle of the sixth. Middle of the 6th inning, South Africa onto the board and trailing Spain 5-1. Our score as a new arm into the game for South Africa here in the bottom half of the 6th. Josh Tribe, the right-hander out of Durban, Crowder College product, junior college in the United States. First pitch lifted by Carlos Colmenares to right, where Brandon Bouillon lines it up and puts it away for the first out of the 6th inning.
We got a chance to see Tribe last night, Chinese Taipei. A lot more fans with eyeballs on him. Chance to pitch back-to-back.
Tall right-hander, Josh Tribe listed at 6'5", about 200 pounds. 21 years old. Gabrielino doubled to drive in his team's first run of the day back in the 2nd inning, 1 for 2. Lino has been really good here in this World Baseball Classic Qualifier. Lofts this one, first base side and foul. Well, South Africa, I think, would like to have this game as maybe a 2-run deficit instead of a 4-run deficit. But, man, Ryan, what we were talking about coming into the day is if you're South Africa and you can get into the 4th or 5th is what we said, but now even here in the 6th and still be in this, you know, you made the point a moment ago, you got nothing to lose right now. Be loose, have fun in these at-bats, and let the chips fall where they may. South Africa by no means is out of this game.
Yeah, definitely easier said than done, but it gets to that point, man, when you're at a tournament like this where just be present, just enjoy the moment, get something to hit, just swing, don't have to be perfect.
In the air to left, Joshua Wenzel. 2 gone.
And for Spain, you're kind of drawing this up that you're essentially going to be playing on Tuesday. So those last couple at bats, just get whatever you need, whatever prep you need. Have that off day. I'm sure they're probably going to have a little, maybe a workout, take batting practice. Do your thing on Tuesday.
Frank Hernandez, 3 for his first 3 here at the qualifier. Drove in the 2nd run of the 2nd inning for Spain. Getting the nod out there in left field today. Hernandez, a member of the Tenerife Marlins in the Spanish First Division. A lot of Tenerife Marlins players on this roster. Edgar Rondon, who we have seen out in the field in this qualifier. He plays for the Toros of Pamplona. Fitting, of course, that the Pamplona team would be known as the Toros. Pablo Guillen, who started this game for Spain, actually a member of Legionnaire Regensburg in the German Bundesliga. Players in the Italian Baseball League, guys who played in the Dominican Winter League, the Venezuelan Winter League, the Mexican League, both summer and winter, Colombian League in the case of Andres Angulo, some independent ballers in the United States. As Hernandez continues his hot start to the qualifier. He is 4 for 4, 3 for 3 with 3 singles today and a 2-out knock. We'll turn the lineup card over.
A nice little approach here. This is the fastball down and away. Able to spray that ball into right field.
The running game's been a big thing today for Spain. They have stolen 3 bags successfully out of 4 attempts. Tyrone Milne was able to cut down the first caught stealing of the day a little while ago. Got the miss from Angulo, and it is 1-1 on him. Andres 1 for 3, singled to lead off this game in the first inning. Angulo flashing the leather yesterday, diving catch, part of that defensive clinic that we got in the game between Spain and Nicaragua. That was, we touched on, Ryan, you made the comment, man, the MLB social media team staying up late and cutting the highlights defensively. They had posted some Nicaragua highlights the first couple of the day, and then it was like the next 4 innings. We had another highlight every other play. Angulo, grounder to third, where Anthony Phillips will get it to Victor Ngupe for the final out of the inning. South Africa has been able to limit damage over the last few innings, and they're hanging in right now. Headed to the 7th, it's a 4-run game. Big right-hander Fernando Baez will take over on the pitcher's mound for Spain as we head into the top half of the 7th inning. Back at the Taipei Dome, Tyler Vaughn, Ryan Rowland-Smith. 6 innings of 1-run, 2-hit baseball for Pablo Guillen, who was outstanding on the mound in the start today for Spain. And Ryan, the thing that stands out about that, if Spain is headed to that 2nd versus 3rd place game on Tuesday, they're going to have pretty much all hands on deck, with the exception of today's starter, Pablo Guillen.
Yeah, which is super important. Just have all your options. All the limitations go completely out the window.
Fernando Baez, the righty.
Tell you what, Tyler, we're talking about having that stint playing over in Italy, maybe for a season, enjoy some travel. 6 years Fernando Baez has been pitching in Italy and absolutely dominating. 2024 season, .9 ERA.
First strikeout for Baez is of Brandon Bouillon. Man, there are few places that would be better to extend your baseball life.
Right, I was just about to say.
Than playing for Italy. He plays for one of the more unique teams in the Italian Baseball League. He plays for San Marino, which is one of the most successful teams in that league. But San Marino is its own country, and they play in the Italian Serie A. Yeah, 6 seasons with San Marino. Giovanni Pantaleone, who is here as a representative of the World Baseball Softball Confederation and Italian baseball star in his career, played in Bologna. And it's interesting hearing about the different dynamics, the different rivalries, all of that between these teams in Italy. And San Marino really in recent years has been a dominant force in that league. We also figured out back in November that you and Giovanni played against each other in the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens. As a ground ball to the right side, Tyrone Milne is put out.
I had no idea until November last year we bumped into each other. He said, "I remember you." How could I not? No, I'm kidding. No,
I don't remember that
strange.
part
He
of the
goes, yeah,
conversation.
I played in the Olympics. I said, oh, yes, yeah, so did I. I said, what year? He goes, 04. I said, oh, me too. There you go.
2 gone for Joshua Wenzel.
That last at bat, Tyler, you can see Lino is doing the catching for Byers, just telling him, hey, slow it down. We're rushing through these pitches.
Oh. There's some zip on this fastball. I mean, I know it's only coming in low 90s, but it is popping that glove. Baez is kind of that classic guy who I think his measurements were taken at a much earlier stage of his career. He's listed at 6'1", 192.
No chance.
I don't think so. Formerly a member of the St. Louis Cardinals organization. He was actually signed as a position player back in the late 2000s, a catcher / first baseman. Converted himself to pitching after struggling to put up good offensive numbers for his first couple of seasons. He was a Rule 5 draft selection by the Tampa Bay Rays in 2015. In total, 6 minor league seasons and now 6 seasons in Italy. And he's got the bouncer back to the mound from Joshua Wenzel. And the final out of the 7th inning with it. Stretch time in Taipei. Spain in control in a 5-1 lead. Spain in control of South Africa. 5-1 is the score here as we head into the bottom half of the 7th inning. Angel Beltre will lead things off. It'll be Beltre, the 2-hole hitter, the center fielder, then Wander Encarnacion, the third baseman, Jesus Ustaris, the first baseman, as Spain looks to take one more step toward the 2026 World Baseball Classic Qualifier. Ball and a strike on Angel Beltre. Beltre today 1 for 3, single, scored a run, stole a base in the 3rd inning, and he waves through this one. It's 1-2. Working against Josh Tribe, who was on for his 2nd inning of relief. Spain in 2022 had a chance to qualify for the main World Baseball Classic tournament in 2023 on back-to-back days. And they let those chances slip away against Great Britain and the Czech Republic, 2 teams that have not had to re-enter the qualifiers here in 2025. The hot shot grounder over to first, snared by Brandon Smith, 1 away. So this is, I mean, a big spot, Ryan. We saw how crushed that Spain team was after falling in that wild game to Great Britain. They led 9-8 going to the bottom of the 9th inning. They lost 10-9 on a walk-off win for Great Britain. The next day, they had to turn around and play against the Czech Republic, a team they hung 21 runs on in the 2nd day of the qualifier in 2022. They lost that game 3-1. and they've been chomping at the bit to get back to this stage ever since.
Yeah, and you know, going into that tournament too, you saw the roster that had some big-time MLB prospects on that roster, and yeah, I wouldn't call them. I mean, I guess you could have called them the favorite of that qualifiers, the way that team was constructed. But then you mentioned the crazy part of that. First of all, Great Britain, which is a really cool story. You see a lot of those players, and then go on to the World Baseball Classic. But yeah, that Czech Republic team, you get beat the way they got beat, 21 runs against them. And I feel like that's where that Cinderella story kind of begun, right? Going into the World Baseball Classic last year, you know, with Shohei Ohtani wearing the Czech hat and the whole deal. I think that really began when they knocked off Team Spain to get to the World Baseball Classic.
And one of my favorite things of the last couple of years is not just the way that Czech team put themselves on the map, and they had the win over China at the Tokyo Dome, the Martin Mujic home run, the amazing Steven Nelson call, the 9th inning home run, Mujic magic at the Tokyo Dome, and it put the Czech Republic back into the WBC for 2026. But since then, being in the WBC has provided so much for baseball in the Czech Republic, not just in terms of the visibility element, but the funding element as well. We've seen the Czech national team travel to Japan, play international friendly series there, travel here to Taiwan, and they've developed kind of this international baseball bromance with teams, NPB teams in Japan, CPBL teams, the Chinese Taipei Baseball Association, and the Czech baseball community very tuned in to this World Baseball Classic qualifier here in 2025, because an opponent that they will face in their pool will come out of either this qualifying group or the Tucson qualifying group. 2-1 pitch.
It's amazing too. You mentioned the funding that's attached to your results here. I know with Team Australia, and we ran into some of those players in November, how important it was for them to try and beat Korea that last day. Even though it didn't really mean a whole lot to get to that top, essentially that top 10, that top 12 ranking, it changes the funding. I remember talking to those players, oh yeah, how you guys feeling? Oh, all good, but hey, today we need that funding. That's how it works. And you know, having the chance to talk to South Africa, they said, oh yeah, not really, just because they don't have the backing, government backing.
3-2 is ball 4 there for Ustaris.
But you know, just when you hear that, it just puts a whole different perspective on some of these results.
There are so many other pieces to the puzzle and the equation. You know, if you're somebody who's tuned in the United States or in the Dominican Republic or in a baseball powerhouse country, you don't really think about things in that way. But the thing that you share with somebody like Josh Tribe, who's on the mound right now, or Neil Adonis, who's in that South Africa dugout, or, you know, Martin Mujic with the Czech Republic, you share the love of this game. And knowing that there are some barriers that are in place in some of these countries with the visibility and support makes it real easy to get behind these countries that build these teams, get to these tournaments, play in the Youth World Cups, play in the World Baseball Classic, and the qualifiers, because you realize, oh, that's more baseball for these guys. That's more baseball for the programs below them. That's future facilities and investment and games and structure. That's what the WBC means for so many of these countries. And again, you know, the things that we talked about yesterday, Ryan, the conversations about, you know, if you're the starter Damon King for the rest of your life, you get to go home and talk to kids, you know, if you're coaching or you're working back home and trying to carve the next chapter of South African baseball, you get to say, oh yeah, I struck out a couple of former big leaguers in the Taipei Dome in front of 36,000 people.
Or if you're this kid right here, Josh Tribe, going back to his JUCO, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just played in front of 40,000. No big deal.
No big deal.
Currently a redshirt freshman. Maybe lose that red shirt once he gets back. Puts up some good numbers out here.
I need to use Josh Tribe, who's looked really good through his first inning and 2/3. Just missed the outside part of the plate there as he worked here against Rusber Estrada with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 7th. Called strike 3, froze him on the inside part of the plate there. Second strikeout of the inning for Josh Tribe. And South Africa will head back to the dugout. 5-1 our score as the visitors try to get the offense rolling here in Taipei. Pinch hitter Josh November will lead things off for South Africa as we head into the top half of the 8th inning. And he just got plunked trying to spin out of the way of a Fernando Baez fastball. So he will take first base. And a base runner will lead things off for South Africa, trailing this game by just 4. Ouch. Right off the back of the right hand. So good wheels aboard. Josh November, one of the youngest guys in this qualifier. He just turned 19 on November 30th.
That's crazy. Him and Josh Tribe playing in the U23s. Yeah, listen, essentially 6 months ago with Neil Adonis, who was at the helm of that team as well.
A few of those guys on this South Africa roster, a few on Nicaragua's roster as well. As a bouncer back to the mound will turn into a 1-4-3 double play. Baez erases the initial miscue of the inning. Victor Agupe retired, and 2 quickly gone as the bases are cleared here in the 8th.
Now, I tell you what, Spain, their pitching, especially with Pablo Guillen, a lot of quick get to 2 outs. Basically, that stranglehold against South Africa just allowing them to get any kind of momentum.
17 straight retired by Pablo Guillen at one point after the leadoff single and walk by Agupe and Smith in the first. 17 straight until Tyler Smith walked in the 6th.
Yeah, a lot of storytelling between you and I in this game today, Tyler, but I feel like every time with South Africa hitting, I'll look up and go, whoa, 2 outs.
Yeah.
I need to wrap this up.
Yeah, some real quick innings today for this Payne staff as the 2-1 grabs the outside corner to even it up against Tyler Smith. Smith has walked 4 times here in this World Baseball Classic Qualifier. Twice today. He has scored his team's lone run of the day today. He's also played a fantastic shortstop. And left-handed hitting middle infielder flares one on the infield. Out too short. Valerio puts it away, and South Africa is gone in the 8th. 5-1, Spain leads it, going to the bottom of 8.
One team tonight will clinch its berth in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, and it's a 3-run shot from Cincinnati Reds for Welby Marte. 2 out, 2-run single. Harry Ford just continues to crush. A 1-run game now at the bottom of the 7th as Deshaun Knowles goes yard. And a drive to right. We are tied. Wow, we are headed to extra innings. Should be deep enough. The catch, the tag, and Great Britain is walking off to the World Baseball Classic.
A 9-8 lead for Spain going into the bottom of the 9th inning with a qualification for the World Baseball in 2023. And Great Britain rallied for 2 runs in a win. They celebrated on a walk-off sacrifice fly and punched their ticket to Arizona for the 20 Classic. That was 2.5 years ago in Regensburg, Germany. And the next day, Spain had to turn around, try to qualify again against the Czech Republic. They were unable to do so. And since that moment, Spain has been eyeing this qualifier as its chance to make it back into the main tournament field for the first time since 2013. And they will have an opportunity, if they can hang on to this lead, potentially playing in that second place game coming up on Tuesday as the leadoff hit by pitch puts a man aboard to get things started. Edison Valerio takes up his spot at first, and Carlos Colmenares will go to work against the reliever Josh Tribe. But Ryan, you've been in a circumstance where you're playing in these really tense and tight qualifiers, and if the opportunity slips away from you, it is a long wait till you get the chance again.
Well, yeah, I mean, we nearly fell to South Africa in Sydney. You know, I remember I was talking about this a couple of days ago. We were down in that game, middle of the game, and you can sometimes you get complacent, right? In those qualifiers, we had the Philippines, we had South Africa, ourselves, New Zealand, and so, you know, we were the heavy favorite to qualify, but there was a little bit of complacency. And we're kind of sitting back, just going through the motions, and we looked up like, we are just a few innings away from not going to the World Baseball Classic. And we talked about the funding, we talked about everything else which is at stake. And luckily we were able to qualify. But yeah, it's nerve-wracking because, like you said, you have to wait a long time to get a chance to go qualify or get back to that stage.
Pitch on the outside corner there to Colmenares. Also, I'm not sure if you could tell in that video, I was a little sick. We started playing those highlights. I was like, who is that nice librarian who was broadcasting those games?
Yeah, that was a big week. We had some weather, and plus your voice was strained because you were over-the-top excited. There were some big moments.
Brandon Bouillon stumbles with that one in right field. So first to third, Valerio takes the extra bag, and Spain threatening to add on here in the bottom of the 8th. We still made it work. We made it work. You mentioned the weather. The weather was definitely a factor as well. It was cold in Regensburg. But one thing I remember about that was a friend of mine from MLB who was watching the game said, you know what the coolest thing is about these broadcasts? It kind of gives like an October baseball feel because people were behind the plate. They're bundled up. They got big jackets and hats on. And it really did. The baseball was good. There was sort of that postseason feel to it. Man, that was a fun qualifier.
I had to give you motivational speeches before the games.
You did.
Pusher, you got this.
Nobody hyped me up like Ryan Roland Smith.
That's right.
And that was when we were still just getting to be friends. Now you would just roast me.
I don't know if we'd call each other friends. I get it. We have to share this booth, but yeah, that far.
We are we're in close quarters here in this booth as well. This is a good space for a broadcast duo to nerd out over all of the intricacies of their international baseball experiences together. Mostly just talking about the schnitzels and things that we got to have in Regensburg a few years ago. Gabriel Lino into the batter's box. 1 for 3 today.
I'll tell you what, Josh Tribe, again, this is his second day in a row. He's pushing 40 pitches right now. A young kid, we talked about him playing in the U23s not long ago, and here he is having to back it up and cover some innings.
You know what's interesting too about this staff, Ryan, we talked with Neil Adonis prior to the start of the qualifiers. Lino crushes one down the left field line. Gone if it's fair. That is a foul ball. Wow. Gabriel Lino has already got 1 home run in this qualifier. At least he's handing out souvenirs, but nearly added 3 to the lead.
Man, he's got some pop when you can get on the inside of that ball and drive it down in the left field. I thought that nearly looked like it was about to find that foul pole. It was a tough angle. We had a look at it, but man, take that into Tuesday.
But when we were talking with Neil Adonis, we said, who are going to be some of your key arms out of the bullpen? And the first name that he gave us was Jared Ilario. We have not seen Jared Ilario pitch. So wondering if there is a situation there with an injury or an illness perhaps. Anticipated seeing him today.
Well, that's the other tough thing too. You come to these tournaments, you can't sub out guys who get injured. All of a sudden you get to day 1, day 2. You can't be replaced once the round starts.
Yeah, the only exception to that is catcher for catcher.
And the other element too, let's say it's the day before. I've been on teams where the day before someone pulls up lame with a hamstring, and they're going to get on a flight a long ways across the other side of the world and be ready to go and come and replace the player.
1-2 pitch. Lino shoots it the other direction down the right field line, and that is a foul ball. Lino just playing pepper with the foul lines. Count will stay at 1-2 on him. Colmenares was all the way around third base and now looks exhausted as he trots back to first. He has got really, really good speed. Carlos Colmenares almost scored from first on that RBI double by Lino in the second inning. He was cut down at the plate on a good relay by South Africa. The 1-2 pitch. Check swing. That gets away from Tyrone Milne. And he is gone. Is around. Moving up to second base. Colmenares takes that bag, but the strikeout is out number 1 here in the bottom of the 8th.
I'm a little bit shocked. He's still going. And again, big reason why. His age, his level, pitched yesterday. Pushing on 45 pitches right now. Multiple innings, had to get up, get down.
I also kind of wondered if this game had gotten out of hand, if Neil Adonis would have tried to get some of the arms into this game that we have not seen as of yet. And Jared White comes to mind, haven't seen him. Rowan Eberson, I don't believe we've seen on the mound either, as South Africa will intentionally walk Frank Hernandez, who's 3 for 3 today.
Yeah, it's a good point. And look, I know it's a 4-run lead, I get it, but this is essentially looking down the barrel, the last chance you have here in Taipei. Like, some guys have flown a long way. Let him get in the game. Get in the inning.
The 3-batter minimum, of course, in effect here in the Classic in 2025, and in 2022 that was not the case. And I'll never forget our first game with Bruce Bochy's France.
Yeah,
he
right.
got, I believe, every single pitcher on that roster in that first game, and he apologized to us both. Sorry about that. Get these guys out there and at least get them the feel of this game. Although Bruce Bochy also told us, there's no way I'm going back to managing a big league team, and then won the World Series less than a year later.
I remember you flat out asked him, said, hey, is this going to, sort of get you going? And he goes, no chance.
Said, I'll have to talk to my wife about that, and there's no way she's going to go for it. And then there he was the next year celebrating a World Series title with the Texas Rangers. Shows what my investigative journalism skills are like. 2-0. 3 balls and no strikes to Andres Angulo.
And you see that velocity starting to slip down the mid-80s. Josh Tribe.
There's a lot to like about Josh Tribe, though. I mean, a young guy, 21 years old, 6'5", 200 pounds, projectable with some of this stuff. And like you said, I mean, I think he's a little overextended right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to make a change right here. Just, simply put, from a health, not just performance, but one thing that goes to, Tyler, when you're fatigued, I talked about the velocity, but the other thing that essentially goes before the velocity is the command. No matter how hard you try, here we go, Neil Adonis is going to make that change.
So that will do it for Josh Tribe. A bases loaded walk issued to Angulo adds a run to the lead, and Spain has extended it to 5. It matches the largest lead of the day for the Spain team, as Josh Tribe, a good effort out of the bullpen, but running out of steam here in the bottom of the 8th. 6-1, Spain in the lead. South Africa going to the bullpen.
Right-hander Jared White is the next arm onto the mound for South Africa as we move along here in the bottom of the 8th inning. He inherits a tough spot, a bases-loaded one-out situation, and a former major leaguer at the plate in Angel Beltre. White currently pitching at Tyler Junior College in Tyler, Texas. He's a native of Johannesburg. Strike. So Josh Tribe exits after 2 1/3 in this game.
Yeah, he got stretched out pitching yesterday as well.
Walked the last 2 batters that he faced. Two-one to Beltre, just missing there. Tyrone Milne really wanted to get that strike call, but the count now 3-1 as a dangerous bat waits on deck. And the person of Wander Encarnacion. 3-1, lifted foul. A lot of fans already in the house. We are still nearly 5 full hours away from first pitch of the night game between Nicaragua and Chinese Taipei. And this place is already, I would say, a third full.
Yeah, every time we walk outside this dome after game 1 before we start prepping for game 2, it's packed outside early. How many hours until game time? People fired up.
3-2. Beltre ropes another one into the netting over there on the first base side. You know, Beltre today 1 for 4, single, stolen base, run scored in the 3rd. Staying all off speed to him, and the 3-2 fouled away again. Three-two. Field line and foul once more. Worth noting, if South Africa were to rally in the 9th and extend their qualifier to Tuesday, Justin Erasmus and Josh Tribe, each surpassing 50 pitches today, they would be unavailable. Beltre really battling here. 10th pitch of this at bat. Fouled back into the screen.
He said that feeling is a split second away from crushing this pitch if it's down over the plate.
Ooh, he drives one the other way, foul. Yeah, you hang in long enough and you get a mistake, can really do some damage here with a 5-run lead. But instead he gets under one. Out to center. Carelsa racing in. Catch made. Tagging at 3rd. Here comes Colmenares. Throw off line. A sacrifice fly for Beltre. Adds a run. It's 7-1 Spain in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, just missing this pitch. We talked about, you see enough pitches like you said, Tyler, and again, just trying to stay on time and do some damage too. There was a pitch early in this at bat where he was like, I'm not walking. Pitch well inside. Fouling off, getting the 3-2.
So, with 2 gone, a pinch hitter into the 3 spot in the order in place of Wander Encarnacion. Daniel Jimenez will take this at bat, member of the Tigres of Quintana Roo in the Mexican League in Cancun. Ryan, one thing we've talked about a lot with this South Africa team, and you know, is always the conversation. It is the conversation, to be fair, with any team coming into an event like this, is your depth, and especially your pitching depth.
Yeah.
And South Africa just running a little bit short on that on the mound today.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that was always going to be the issue with them in regards to pitching, what you got.
And it's to center, and that springs by Carilsa. It's going to bring in both. And Spain tacks on. It's now 9-1 in the 8th.
Yeah, it looked like this ball was playable. We'll see on the replay if he took a step back against, just tough to gauge the depth. But in the vicinity, that ball skips away, man, you're in deep trouble.
And check that. That's Joshua Wenzel, who has moved over to center field after Carilsa was pinch hit for. And it looked like Wenzel got a pretty good jump on that ball, but man, just unable to hunt it down. And it brings in both runs. Daniel Jimenez with a 2-run single, and this man at the plate right now, Jesus Ustaris, could end this game. He is the mercy rule run. And with the home team at the plate here in the 8th, if he were to launch one out of here, this game would be over at 11-1.
Man, that would be a tough way to finish if you're South Africa. We talked about, you know, the implications of being the last time playing at this level for a majority of this roster. All of a sudden, Ustaris goes deep and you're walking off the field.
South Africa has done a lot of really good things over the last 3 days, and unfortunately just running out of steam here at the end. But for Spain, they're going to get an opportunity, and depending on the result tonight, it still remains to be seen what the opportunity likely headed to that chance coming up on Tuesday to play for a ticket to the 2026 Classic and try to avenge their struggles to clinch in 2022. Fly out to left will wrap this thing up here in the 8th. We're going to the 9th. Spain 3 outs away from a Sunday win. The man to try to close out this Sunday victory for Spain is the San Sebastian native Jorge Balboa, who takes over and is set to go to work in the top of the 9th, facing the middle third of South Africa's lineup, with Spain in control in this one. Game number 5 of the World Baseball Classic Qualifier here in 2025 at the Taipei Dome, alongside Ryan Rowland-Smith. My name is Tyler Maughan. Balboa, just the second reliever out of the bullpen today for Nelson Prada's squad. So this is going to be a full-staffed pitching group coming up on Tuesday. If Spain has to play in that second versus third place game on Tuesday, and all that remains to be seen. Brandon Smith, first pitch swinging, drives one out to left. And the leadoff man is gone. Got some changes in the defensive look for Spain. Edgar Rondon into the game at second base. Carlos Colmenares has moved over to third. And we got a pinch hitter here, Matthew Diedericks. Will take the spot in the order from Jonathan Phillips. Diedericks pinch hitting here in the ninth. Swings and can't get a piece on 0-1. It's quickly 0-2. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night. AB, Diedericks is gone. And that'll bring up the last bat of the day for South Africa, and another pinch hitter, Luke November.
Yeah, it's tough for Diedericks coming in, haven't played a whole tournament, and you're getting dotted up. Fastballs around 90, 91. 3 pitches. That's all she wrote.
Luke November, tapper left side. Busting his tail up the first baseline, but he's not going to be able to extend this game, as the put out at first will wrap things up here on this Sunday afternoon. A big win for Spain, which has kept itself alive for a spot in the 2026 World Baseball Classic, and with it, the opportunity to potentially play on Tuesday in that second versus third place game and try to make it back into the main field in 2026. A big time win for this Spain squad, which really the offense coming to life today, but they pitched and it just felt like Spain did not mess around in this game.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of quick shutdown innings on the pitching side, but you mentioned the offense. I think that's the biggest key. They come into this World Baseball Classic Qualifiers and they just absolutely tear it up against Chinese Taipei in front of a packed house, and then that went dormant yesterday. And the big thing today, talking about the energy at that noon game, it is tough. So you got some of that momentum, you kind of get that weight off your shoulders, and then you can roll into Tuesday and feel good about whoever you're playing. Now, this game, Tyler, was huge because coming up in the night game, you got Chinese Taipei against Nicaragua. Nicaragua win, they're in very good shape. If Chinese Taipei win, I don't want to do the math, but they have to win by a pretty substantial margin just because where Nicaragua sit.
You saw those standings a moment ago with Nicaragua heading into tonight as the only remaining unbeaten. With a win, they would be through as the first place team out of this group into the 2026 World Baseball Classic. South Africa losing means that South Africa is eliminated. So 2 of those 3 teams remaining, Spain, Nicaragua, Chinese Taipei, will qualify for the 2026 Classic. But we don't know which 2 as of yet. Tonight will decide 1 ticket for the 2026 Classic, and it will also tee us up for Tuesday's game between the second and third place teams. It doesn't get any bigger than what we got coming up at 7 o'clock in front of 40,000 plus.
Yeah, and I just do want to give a little credit to South Africa. Got a chance to talk with them and meet with the players and the manager. Had a really good 20-minute chat with Neil Adonis day one. Man, these are tough. You come in, you know you're lacking that depth, especially on the pitching side. You got some young players who are kind of unknown. But some of these veterans, this could be it for them. And the other part of this is too, from a South African program, what's the future hold? Are they going to have a chance to qualify again in a couple of years, leading into the next WBC, due to the fact that they're winless back in Regensburg, Germany, to get to 2023. They're winless in this one. So it's a tough day for a lot of these players on an individual standpoint and from the program as well.
Well, the South Africa national team program, they're going to send a team to the U18 Baseball World Cup later on this year, so the calendar just keeps moving. But a good one today for Spain. This win so controlled throughout. 9-1 is the final. well. And now if you're Spain, you kind of sit around and wait to see what happens in this game. But you know that you have done the things you needed to do to put yourself in a position to play for one of those tickets.
Yeah, and I think too, what really helps, and again, we've talked so much about the pitching restrictions and what have you. We had a situation in Regensburg where you had to play on that off day. The fact we've got a dome, we've got some weather outside, we don't have to worry about that. And that gives, whether it be Chinese Taipei, whoever it is up against Spain for that Tuesday game, gives them a chance to get fresh. So we're going to have a full pitching staff available, and they can mix and match tonight against Nicaragua, try and get that win. But some really exciting games coming up tonight and then on Tuesday.
It has been a very unique first few days. Nicaragua comes into this game tonight as the only remaining unbeaten. They have scored all of 4 runs through their first 2 games, but they're 2-0. Chinese Taipei started to get right last night, but there was still a little bit of frustration with some of their struggles with runners in scoring position. We will see what they have in store tonight. 1 game remaining in this opening stage of the World Baseball Classic 2025 qualifier tonight. 7 p.m. local time. Nicaragua, the road team. Chinese Taipei, the home squad. The winner of that game, if it is Chinese Taipei, will force a 3-way tie. And then we head to the tiebreakers to determine the automatic entrant, the first place entrant coming out of this group into the 2026 Classic. And the 2 teams that will square off coming up on Tuesday. So much more baseball remains to be played here at the Taipei Dome, and we got you covered for all of it. Tonight, 7 o'clock local time, Nicaragua and Chinese Taipei, as big as it gets in this qualifier, and we'll talk to you then. For Ryan Rowland-Smith and our entire crew, my name is Tyler Mon. Spain takes down South Africa. So long for now from the Taipei Dome.